We're going to go into the world of psychology today and meet Dr. Kevin Leman, who wrote the Birth Order book. This book is about the idea that where you are in your family constellation will affect how you perceive the world and how you react to the world. You've got two views of thought on what makes a person into what he or she becomes, and that is your environment and then the way you were born, nurture versus nature. I think both apply, but I like Dr. Leman's theories because I see them in my life. So I'm going to tell you about them now, but first let me tell you about some of the other books he wrote. He's a very prolific writer, and I've read a whole bunch of it. I started reading him in high school many years ago, and a lot of the books that he writes will come back out in new form. So you'll see he wrote it in the 70s, and then 30 years later he rewrote it for today's world. So be a little careful about whether maybe you've already read that title 30 years ago when you're reading his stuff. This one is Sheet Music, which is about marital relations. So, of course, Emma's not going to read that one anytime soon. Stopping Stress Before It Stops You, all about the firstborn pleaser. Making Sense of the Men in Your Life, just in case you don't quite understand what that guy's thinking. The Perfect Match, which is about finding the right person for you. Have a New Husband by Friday. He's got a whole series of these. Have a new kid by Friday, have a new teenager by Friday. The idea that there are certain things you can do so that the people in your life understand what you're actually wanting from them, and that'll help them to behave in ways that make sense to you. And then the one I'm currently reading, Planet Middle School, because that's where Emma's going next. We'll find out what's going on with adolescence. But today's book is the Birth Order book. So his theory is that the firstborn child is the entire focus of two people, and if he's an only grandchild as well, there may be 6 people doting only on him. So this child becomes very adult-focused, high-achieving usually, and very aware of what other people are thinking. Emma is not only a firstborn but an only child, and very much so. These people end up being astronauts and presidents because those two people who have no other children are so focused on making you, their only child or their firstborn child, achieve. So they focus everything on you. They also make their early mistakes on you. And so more is expected of an only child usually. And I certainly find that Emma fits the bill there. I am a middle child. Middle children tend to be secretive and peacekeepers. They don't want to tell you all their secrets because they see what happened before and what happened after, and they, just kind of want to be left alone. My father was a middle child, and he said the oldest children got good bedtimes, the youngest children got good bedtimes, and he got all the rules. He felt stuck in the middle, and that's how the middle child feels. And then you have the baby child. My younger brother very much is the baby child. This is the entertainer and typically willing to stretch those boundaries. He looks up at all those who've gone before him and he says, wonder what else I could do besides what they've already done. Of course, it's a little more convoluted than that. For instance, I am a middle child, but my older brother is 6 years older than I am. So I end up having some firstborn tendencies too because of that 6-year gap. And so I'm a little bit of an older child as well as a middle child. And you see that in some responsible traits that I have and the tendency to want to do the right thing. And of course, it's not all nurture. There's some nature in it too. I was born that way. But how I interacted with the adults in my life did affect it. So I think you should read this book if you find this theory interesting. And if you've read this book, or if this sounds like an interesting theory to you, I'd love to hear your comments down below about how you think being oldest, middle, youngest, or only affected your child. And he goes into the book about also blended families where you have stepchildren, half-brothers and sisters, that sort of thing. Emma has read one of Dr. Leman's books. He wrote a series for children, about children. This one's called My Only Child, There's No One Like You. And of course he has this for the middle child and the youngest child and the eldest child. It's an engaging little book about a little bear who goes through his family album with his parents, and they explain why it's okay that they only have one child, and how he's enough for them, and how being an only child has changed the way his family works, and how he does affect the older people in the family as well as them affecting him. So I will link as many of these books as I can find down below for you, and I hope that you will read some of them. And until I see you again, make time for tea and a good book.